have actually the second broadcast of Doing Business in. This is a number of live streams which is dedicated to countries all over the world. We're talking to CEOs, entrepreneurs, business people from those countries which are creating for Russian companies going internationally a new globe, which is definitely a new experience, and a new experience that gives you a chance to grow, but also creates a lot of things which are unknown. So our goal here is to introduce new business context, to avoid awkward mistakes, and create even greater business opportunities for everybody. And as you know, today's our broadcast is dedicated to Turkey. Last year in 2022, there were more than 1,300 Russian companies that launched their businesses in Turkey. And Turkey became second largest trade partner to Russia after China. And we are really excited to have you all here. But before we introduce our incredible guests today, let me first introduce my co-presenter, a big friend, a 15-year-long business partner, Orhan Kemal Alver, who is one of the best-known leadership advisors in Turkish market. Orhan is managing partner of OKA Associates. Before that, he launched Russell Reynolds business in Istanbul and spent a couple of years as a partner in New York office of Russell Reynolds. And before that, he was leading Korn Fery in Istanbul as well. So Orhan, the floor is yours.
Okay, Oksana, thank you very much. Oleg and Tugrül, thank you so much for participating in this live stream. So, I mean, if I want to introduce our guest speakers, Tugrül and Oleg, both of them bring a unique perspective and insights on doing business, both in Turkey and Russia. I think that is the uniqueness. So if I start with Tugrül, long-time friend, Tugrül comes with 30 years of accomplished professional career, all spent at the one company, interestingly and uniquely, Efes Beer Group, which is owned by one of Turkey's largest holding company called Anadolu Holding. They have diversified businesses. I mean, from my perspective, you know, in leadership business, Tugrül, I think, is a perfect example of what a dedicated professional can achieve. Imagine he started as a salesperson at Efes in Turkey, then he gradually assumed ever-growing roles and responsibilities, most of the time sales and, you know, the marketing, then, which prepared him for his first CEO role after doing marketing role in Russia. I think that was 2005. And he did, I think, a very good job, 5 years. Then he turned back to Turkey to run, you know, Turkish operations by the time. But this didn't end for a long time. I think you're right, you stay like a year. Then by that time, there was a discussion and actually the merger of SAP Milan and Efes in Russia. That was a huge, big merger. Knowing the Russia quite well, you know, the Tugrül was asked to return back to Russia and to manage the integration. And I think this took another almost 4 years. And then he returned back to Turkey and he had other corporate roles. I think he managed the region as well as some corporate functions there. And finally, I think almost 31 years later, he ended his career in one company and he started to spend more time, his passion on young entrepreneurs, as well as a startup as a mentor and advisor. And what I see, Tugrül is more happy than like 3 years ago. I'm sure that he's enjoying his time spending, you know, and if I come to Oleg, Oleg is a lawyer by profession and actually practiced his profession in both local and international firms in Russia. And he spent like half of his 20 years professional career doing legal job. Then I think he did, something very admiring and crazy. He decided to leave the known world of legal and advising, and I don't know whether the tool played a role in that, but he decided to meet career change and switch the commercial role.
You're telling secret things now, Orhan.
Yeah, I mean, I really admire, what he did. I mean, on a separate parallel, I would like to spend more time. But anyway, I mean, I think he did 2 commercial roles in Russia, and then he came to Turkey like a beginning of pandemic, and he does a commercial excellency job for the entire Efes group of companies. So, I mean, I'm really curious, what Oleg, will tell us today. Working both in Russia and Turkey, so I think he will bring a lot of the unique experience, especially from the culture point of view. Tuğrul probably will add on that as well. So again, welcome, and Oksana, I think I will give you back to the first question. Podium is yours now.
Yes, thank you, Orhan. So we will have a 4D picture today. Tuğrul, first of all, thank you again for agreeing to be our guest today. Some years have already passed since you left Russia, but everybody here still remember about your wise leadership, your energy, your charisma and drive. And you had been leading businesses both sides of the Black Sea. And what I wanted to ask, do you still remember the day when you first came to Russia? And what were your biggest findings and maybe business shocks here?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me tonight. I'm really excited to be with you, and I see some names, old friends in the list. Really very much excited. Hi, Sergey. After years, I mean to see you also here. I was just beginning of my career. I mean, as Orhan said, I mean, I worked for Efes for 31 years, and I worked only one company in my career. That's why I don't have too many friends from the headhunting industries, except Orhan Alver, because we were studied in the same college. That's why I didn't say to him no, actually, because we were in the same college in 1980s, let's say. That's why, I mean, I don't have too much experience to changing jobs, getting offers. I was saying always no, because I really like to work for Efes and what I was doing in Efes. Especially best part of my career I spent in Russia. I arrived in 2001 as a marketing manager, the rookie marketing manager. It was my first manager position. I mean, too many nice stories, and sometimes some also bad stories. I'll talk about them.
Please share. That's very interesting.
I mean, if we have time, I'll use this time, because this is the most emotional part for me. Talk about the Russian business and Efes in Russia. I arrived in 2001, and till 2005 I was a marketing manager, and I was shocked, actually. Of course, I mean, because of the geography, because of the climate, I thought I'm going to die because of I was frozen. I mean, I couldn't feel in the market visits. We go too many market visits, even in the winter. I don't feel my nose, my feet. I remember some days in Novosibirsk, some days in Vladivostok. I mean, I was thinking I'll not go back to Moscow to see my family again because of the huge country. And I was shocked that, I mean, when I arrived, we have one brewery in Moscow, and we were loading from Moscow to everywhere. I mean, and we were very strong in the Far East. When I hear that, I mean, our products goes to Vladivostok, Khabarovsk in 3 weeks, I said, no, you are kidding. I didn't realize that the size of the country, I didn't realize of the weather conditions, and I didn't realize that the beauty of the culture, beauty of the Russian people. I mean, I was amazed. I was amazed with the people, the culture. I felt very close to my heart. When I came, we have one brewery in Moscow. When I left, we have 8 breweries in Russia. When I came, we have 250 people. When I left, we had 8,000 people. Still, I believe Russia was, very special part in my career or for my family. I came with my daughter. I left with 2 daughters. Even we thought.
Everything was growing double digit.
Yes. Even I was insisting to call her Natasha instead of Turkey. And they studied in the Russian school. We decided to send them Russian school instead of English international school. They learn Russian very well. Even now, my family and my daughter speaks fluent Russian. I was lazy. I was focusing on too much work. Maybe it's my mistake. And the dacha culture, I love. I mean, in the summer, every weekend, we were going our friends' dacha houses for, of course, celebrate. We were finding some reasons to celebrate every week. This is what I learned from Russia too. Also, I learned, I mean, it was also shocked that, I mean, I didn't know the harmony of the Russian culture or kitchen with the Uzbek, with the Georgian, you know. It was also, I mean, I learned a lot of things. Some bad memories, some negative thoughts about the bureaucracy. I remember every day I was spending two hours maybe signing thousands of documents every morning because of it was totally new for me. It was very tough for me. And also second thing is the traffic. I remember in the winter time I was suffering to reach the Svetnoy Boulevard from the Birilova. It was also tough. But I mean, if you think about the positive and negatives, even I don't think about the negative or tough things in Russia in my memories. But it was a big shock. I mean, one of the biggest things actually, I arrived in Moscow because I didn't know the ring in the Moscow, MCAT or ring, golden ring.
It's the second ring.
Yeah. I couldn't find the exit, and most probably I did this ring 2-3 times. And my family was crazy. Everybody was saying that we saw this building, we saw this. I couldn't find a turn or exit, whatever it is. It was, I remember, I thought I couldn't go to home. It was Sunday. And the second big things, what I learned, we were preparing for board meeting, big meeting with the team, marketing team. I remember her name is Natalia Alipkina. She was a Stary marketing manager, our beer brand created in Russia. I said, I mean, you know, normally we work hard in Turkey if there's a big meetings. And she said, no, I cannot stay because I have to leave. I have my mother's birthday, 15th birthday. I said, okay, I mean, we have every day's birthdays and not very crucial or very important for us.
No, then you can't miss mother's birthday.
Yeah, I mean, now, Oksana, you cannot, I mean, now how I learn it, I'm, you know, crazy about it. I'm taking care too much about the birthday. Even we started to celebrate birthdays in the company almost every day. We learned too many things, but with some shocks, of course, but happy to leave all of them.
Fantastic. Tugrül, thank you. Bureaucracy is getting better. Traffic is getting worse. MCAT still is having a confusing way south. So not a lot of things actually has changed. Tugrül, and I see Orhan is disconnected, but I think he will be back soon.
Okay.
But may I ask you another question about business between Russia and Turkey? Of course, we are not asking you the question as to, I don't know, head of equity research of Goldman Sachs or a strategic consultant. We go to other sources. But what's your personal view as a businessman? Why Russia is so attractive for Turkish business and vice versa? Turkey is so attractive for Russian business.
I mean, as a Turkish professional working in Russia 12 years, I have to say that because of maybe geography, because of history, maybe I feel very close to two cultures. Even some words when I hear it, almost Turkish words like çiğ börek, for instance, we call it çiğ börek too. You feel good. For the business wise, most probably we are the first comers as a Efes Beer company to the Russia, and then Enka, Renaissance, Beko, too many companies came and worked there with the Russian people, sometimes with the Russian partners. As of today, even today, Turkey and Russia become the biggest partners. I mean, Turkey's biggest import country is Russia today. And the Turkish export markets also in 2023-22 increased 60% to Russia, and import figures are increased almost more than 100%. Because of, I think, two countries, people come closer. Politically, we are more closer. We are almost in the Eurasia group, and we have special relations with economically and politically. And I believe from the first day, actually, what we need in Turkey, you have it in Russia. What you need in Russia, we have it in Turkey. I think this is the formula, and the top of it, and the people and the culture is creating very close, strong link between these two countries, not only for the people, also for the economically development together.
Okay, thank you. Orhan, I had your breath a little bit because you disappeared and asked your question. But if you let me right now, may I ask your view? Which sectors of economy are the most promising for doing business together? What do you think? Because you see a big context.
Sure. I think things will be changed. Things not will gonna stay as it is. I mean, to be honest with you, I think in terms of the business, as Tugrül said, there are more concrete business, Turkish business in Russia than other way around. I mean, of course, there are some steel business, amazing, the number of natural gas and etc. But we wouldn't see like a consumer goods company, Russian consumer company operating in Turkey. This has not happened. I think in the following months and years, this is what we would like to see. Now, Russia has amazingly well-developed executives, so they can execute the projects in Turkey. And also, the country, Turkey, is open to that kind of investment. Again, geopolitics brought us together more closely than ever before. And as we discussed when I was in Moscow again, and also the number of talents now working, living, operating in Turkey, I think likelihood of seeing a major Russian investment, I think, will increase. There is a trust issue. I think that will bring to my next, not the next question, but the other questions. How they're going to come to Turkey is a big question, and there are good examples of how foreign companies enter into Turkey. Again, this will be another discussion with Tugrül, and I would like to get his opinion on that.
Thank you, Orhan. Tugrül, Oleg, our next question is to both of you. I think it's an important question. What should a Russian or any other international company entering Turkish market should keep in mind before making the final decision? What is important? Who wants to start?
Oleg, you can start, because maybe I can add on top of you.
Yes, I mean, thank you very much for having me.
Welcome.
It's really nice. It's really a pleasure. First, to be in the same group with Tugrül after so many years of being in different teams and working on different projects, and of course having Oksana and Orhan being in the same group, it's really a pleasure. So yes, it will be really hard for me to complement Tugrül, so it's good that I'm starting first. So first of all, what is amazing for Russians, even though we have been experiencing this in the past, I mean, in 90s and also in the beginning of 2000s, the inflation. So inflation is amazing. I mean, like it's double digit. It's on almost like an official inflation, even the triple digit. And this you need to consider basically. And now these fluctuations versus Turkish lira, ruble, and dollar and euro. Over the last 2 years, it's really like something extraordinary, and it's a big challenge for finance team how to manage these cash flows and how to plan the budgets. And now we're in strategic planning period. It's really like you don't even know what exchange rate to consider, either average or monthly, and how to plan. That's first. The second is, yes, Russia is really bureaucratic, but Turkey also kind of not easy. Not only corporate regulations, which is like how to establish the company, is pretty straightforward and looks like in Russia, but labor also kind of a protective environment. You need to consider local workforce versus expats, etc. And also the banking. Yes, there are a lot of banks. The Russia and in Turkey, but now, I mean, I don't know, maybe Tuğrul will bring some more perspective on that, but I mean, they are not that much, interconnected. So there are not that many banks, maybe some of them only, which has closer connection to the Russia, and you can do transactions easily and open the accounts. And the changing environment. This is like very similar to both countries. These environments are pretty much dependent on the will of, I can say, several people or maybe even one person, and highly dependent on political decisions. I mean, and the cultural differences. But for cultural difference, I could imagine you have much more questions onwards. Yes, so that's briefly from my side.
Almost similar what I said for Russia just 10 minutes ago. Very similar actually. What I'm going to say is, the local partners are crucial to find out the right people, right local partners. When we go to Russia, actually, it was very crucial for us to understand the country. Instead of enter and invest alone, better to find out the right companies, right partners, right consultants, to start with good market research, good to consumer research to understand better. Other than this, as Alex said, he started from the inflation, but also legal and regulation limitations, better to check. I mean, some industries as Russia or all other countries like energy, like, this kind of things could be more regulated, but FMCG, tourism, this kind of things, much less than others. Of course, I mean, language and culture, positioning of what you are going to produce or positioning of what you are going to give as a service to understand better. As Alex said again, there are different cultural differences, language differences. But I mean, if we did in Russia with the Turkish company 20 years ago, I'm sure Russian companies do even better in Turkey too, because these two countries become much more closer now versus 20 years ago, much more related now, because even I'm living in the Asian side close to Alek, I'm in the Kadıköy. I mean, almost 1/3 of my neighbors are Russian-speaking people, and I'm very happy about them. When I go to walk or drink beer, always, I'm saying "Nazdarovya" to someone in the pubs, cafes, or restaurants, which is good. It means, which is also good advantage for Russian companies. I mean, huge, good quality, young talent in Turkey, not only in Istanbul, in other cities too. It is a good combination. It was not at the same time when we were in Russia, we were bringing some expats, very limited number of expats from Turkey. Other than this, we were working with all Russian professionals. Our first HR manager was Sergey Kardashenko. He's also here. Then Oleg Vasilenko after SAB Meter acquisition integration. I insist Oleg to stay in the company, and then he changed his career. Always big pleasure with working with the Russian people, Russian companies. I feel very comfortable to work even today. I mean, if I have two offers one from Germany, one from Russian company, I can choose for Russian company.
So
okay.
This is a message.
Can you give me just 1 second, because I couldn't ignore that thing which Tugrül said about finding the right partner. You said this is important, but everybody wants to know how to find the right partner. Where do you start?
Yeah, I think this was a kind of question, but I mean, now it's really perfect discussion right now. In terms of, the entering the market, I think the Tugrül and Oleg, talk about the legislation, workforce. I mean, one thing that, the Russian investors should know, in terms of the human quality, management quality is really far advanced. I mean, there are a lot of Turkish executives working all around the world. If there's a professional Russian company who will come to Turkey, there will be no shortage of talent. I think that is really important. In terms of coming to Turkey, I think, as Tugrül suggested, I mean, partnering with a local entity, in my opinion, is very crucial. Let's look at the top 2-3 companies in Turkey. Koç is like a $55 billion organization. They produce archery deco appliances. They produce Ford and cars in Turkey, and it's a 50-50 with Ford company of US. They produce Fiat in Turkey, almost like 44 to 5 years, and it's like a 50-50 joint venture with Fiat. And if you move to the second, largest, conglomerate in Turkey, which is Sabancı Holding, they totally depend on their business with the joint venture partners, Mitsubishi, Toyota, and etc. So what I will say, I mean, the number goes on. If you look at the top 5 holding company in Turkey, majority of them, the biggest businesses, started as a joint venture. So as a lack of, the significant Russian business in Turkey, the advice would be to, these companies are already there. I'm sure that, there are some, geopolitical challenges. I think they need to mitigate those challenges. But again, what they need to do, like, any other German, the Japanese, American company did it before, they should start their operations initially with the big Turkish company. I will give you a last example, which is Danone. Danone, when Danone came to the Turkish market, they had a joint venture with Sabancı, and they operated almost like 10 years. When they got the confidence, they ended their joint venture operations, and they started to operate independently. This is true for Kraft. When Kraft came to Turkey, they also, again, the joint venture with another, the actual Sabancı Holding as well. So that is the best way to come into the market, because Russia needs some sort of confidence. I think the best confidence will come from very well, good governed, Turkish organizations, I would say.
Okay, Orhan, thank you. We can give you a second to make a brief before you come to your next question. Because now we have 2 questions coming from our audience. Oleg, Tugrül, the first question is, in your opinion, what are the highest risks for Russian entrepreneur in Turkey? What are the biggest risks they may face?
Tugrül, now you come first. Maybe.
I may jump in. I mean, maybe to help Oleg. I think the biggest risk is the political risk.
Agree. I think it's the biggest risk is the political risk. Agree with Orhan. But it is, I don't separate the risk between Turkey and Russia, or between Turkey and Greece, or Turkey or Israel. We have risk. We have political risk because of geographical situation of Turkey. We have big neighbors. strong neighbors, and we have time to time we have a tension between us. Now we are having like spring conditions with Russia last few years because of two leaders, long time leaders of two countries are having good relations. It is of course creating excellent climate for the two countries businessmen, but the biggest risk is the political risk. Other than this, I don't see big risk.
Can I have a follow-up on that? I mean, there is this risk, but there is the good news. This is the bad news, but the good news is it is on the agenda of the Turkish government and state to actually promote the Russian business in Turkey to mitigate our risk in Russia. So when the things happened in 2014-15, I mean, Turkish business realized that that they are really open to a lot of risk in Russia, because there was no counterpart business, back in Turkey. So I know, talking with some bureaucrats, even some politicians, etc., it is the agenda of Turkish government and bureaucracy to promote the Russian business in Turkey, at least to the level of, what Turkish business in Russia. Imagine Efes, now referring back to Russia again. Imagine Şişecam, it's a company employing 5,000 people only. There is no equivalent of Russian business in Turkey. That is why Turkey is actively promoting, the incoming investment of real business in Russia, not only selling the natural gas and etc. That is the good part of it. I think this is the perfect time for Russian business to come real big.
Yeah, so there is a risk, but they're hedged. I see Sergey Kardashenko wants to say something. Sergey, now press the button and you will be on air, I think. Yes, you can talk now. No, unfortunately, Sergey disappeared, but I'm sure he'll do another try later. We have more questions coming from our audience, but let us maybe go to the initial plan, and number of questions will come back again to the questions coming from our friends in the live stream.
I turned on my micro.
Here, Sergey, we hear you.
Tuğrul, iyi akşamlar.
İyi akşamlar, dobra večer.
Nasılsın?
Thank you, teşekkürler. Sen nasılsın?
İyiyim, teşekkürler. So funny to join the stream sitting in Istanbul.
Are you in Istanbul?
I'm in Istanbul.
Lovely.
Unfortunately, our agendas hadn't crossed during these few days, and you are in Izmir. Listen, I have one question. So you have such a unique experience working significantly long time in Russia, and of course your career in Turkey. And we know nowadays that there is a flow of Russian managers going to Turkey, Russian executives going to Turkey, and vice versa. Some Turkish managers go to develop business in Russia. If they would ask you for just one advice before going, Russians to Turkey and Turks to Russia, what do you think they should do prior to moving in order to be successful there?
It's a difficult question. I mean, now I'm more startup business in Turkey. Even I started my own my startup last year. And I'm also having too many discussions with the Russian startup companies founders today. And I know some Turkish friends are moving Russia to make a business there. I mean, as you said, there is a flow which is very, very valuable. I think, the most important thing is for both countries, I think language is critical. I think it's critical because one of my most difficult things is to understand alphabet first. I mean, because we cannot read it, even shelves, or even I couldn't read it, my brands in the beginning. This is important. And the second thing is actually, again, find the right people before you go come to Turkey or before you go to Russia, because the corporate life is easy. Alec is now in the corporate life and he can talk about it. But if you are going to create your startup or your business there, I think better to know right people before you go, or search or create a link and learn at least, for good communication before you go to Russia. It was two things actually, and also if you are going to produce some service or products, two countries consumers are different.
Thank you, Tugrül. Orhan, shall we go to the next question?
Yeah, I think I'm really curious about Oleg's experience. Working for both countries, actually working for the same company for some time. I wonder, what kind of similarities or differences in the way that how things are being done. Oleg, what would you say? How do you see the similarities and differences the way that we operate?
Yeah, thank you, Orhan. It's a great question, and it complements the answer of Tugrül. So basically, there are much more similarities that we can think of. So Tugrül said about language, and even I tried. I also did my attempt to try to learn to at least to A1 level, just because I truly believe that you can understand culture only through the language, and there are lots so difficult. Really difficult language. We thought that Russian is difficult, but also Turkish is really absolutely different for Russian speaker. But at the same time, there are so many words which we incorporated in our culture just because of the history of the heritage and a lot of historical circumstances, wars, and also allies which were in the past. So a lot of similarities, and a lot of similarities also in behaviors. So, and I said that for entrepreneurship spirit. So I don't know which culture is better performing here, but both of them from different point of view are very, very entrepreneurship. A lot of empathy, a lot of emotions from different type of emotions. Also very kind of autocratic and hierarchical culture, right. Especially corporate culture. So you just really need to know to whom to speak, how to speak. It's not very democratic. Basically you need to respect that. At the same time, so I would not go to all similarities. There are much more similarities, but some highlights in terms of differences. The feedback I would mention just two, like the feedback or how you basically provide this or provide the comments or the feedbacks to your partner, to your colleague, to everybody. So it's totally different. So in Russia we are more straightforward. In Turkey you just basically say, but you hide it in very, very not complicated, but in very difficult manner.
Mysterious.
Exactly, like in a very, very, very Asian mystery kind of, and you need to be very good reception of that. So you need to develop this skill, because then after several years you will develop this for sure. But you need to get used to it. And the second is that the dialogue. So just this, how do we perceive the dialogue? Because some cultures, especially Western cultures like US, like Germany, we mentioned Germany here, the dialogue is the part of the work. Basically, and when you arguing, when you do it in confrontation, you don't perceive it as something extraordinary or something like a battle or something very, very opposing. But here you don't need to do that. So basically in Turkey you will be perceived as enemy if you will start arguing, if you will be on the other side, even though we sometimes as Russians think it's for better to have this constructive dialogue in the working environment. So that's why it applies, I believe, and the colleagues will maybe comment on that. So I believe this applies not only on the corporate environment, but also just in the day-to-day behavior, and also especially in the business, when doing business. Yes, but I think here we have also in common, what we have in common, adaptability, because we know how to adapt. We both know how to adapt, and also Tugrül is a great example of that. So because he is much more Russian spirit, and I have also the colleagues who are Turkish people and now living in different countries, in CIS countries, in Belarus, in Kazakhstan, and then they also very, very resilient and adaptable. So they are more Russians than some of Russians.
Fantastic. It's very interesting to learn that there are much more similarities than differences. And Oleg, thank you for introducing the new concept of mysterious Turkish feedback.
It's not mine concept. You need to definitely study that concept.
So it's a quarter sugar.
Quarter sugar. Very good. Tugrül, may I ask you another question? Because we know that in the structure of Turkish economy, there are a lot of conglomerates, the family-owned conglomerates. And we also know that trust is really important. What would you advise the newcomer to build trust, and where to start, how to build it?
You know, I think it's again similar with the Russian people. Actually, we are becoming more welcome than Russian, but Russian become more late. Long time. It takes long time for Russians to become friends, but if they are good friends, then good friends. You know, this is the biggest difference. Actually, we can just become friends in the first or second day. Then third day, maybe we can find a better friend. You know, I think, most critical thing is for us as a Turkish or Russian people, I think it's not a big difference. You know, if you come to me with Oleg, for instance, trust can start from beginning. You know, if especially for good Turkish companies, big Turkish companies, because big companies, Turkish companies have good experiences in Russia. A lot of banks, FIBA Bank, Finance Bank, Garanti Bank, or Şişecam, İş Bank, a lot of energy company. We have, or construction companies. We know Russians. We work with Russians. As Orhan was mentioning, the biggest Turkish company, Koç, conglomerate holding group, has a washing machine factory near Moscow. Anadolu Group is also a big company, also 8-10 breweries and malteries. Same for banks. That's why if Russians comes Turkey with the known banks, known partners, it could be much easier to connect with the create trust, and at this time, starting business, discussing business. I believe also Turks are looking for opportunities, produce in Turkey, selling in Russia, or vice versa. A lot of different industries can exchange in between these two countries. It's a very, very good portfolio between these two countries. To working with the good banks, to working with the knowing good Turkish business people, doing business in Turks in the past, create communication and create trust between the Turkish companies. I think, if they come with a good consultant, good intermediate companies, it also creates extra trust between the companies.
Okay, Tugrül, thank you. So if we don't come with Oleg, we find another good middle person or middle company to make the introduction. Time actually is quickly passing by. We have a chance for our last question, and then we come to other questions coming from our audience. And my last question is both to Orhan and Oleg. Orhan, is there a request for Russian executives in Turkish market, or Oleg's experience is a unique one, being at a high level at the headquarters?
I mean, I would say this is not about the Russian. This is about the Turkish employment market. Turkish employment market is mostly uniform, local one. I mean, you will hardly see, bringing someone from outside, because Turkey, has developed his own management career in the last 50, 60 years, right? I mean, so it's not a market for expatriates unless you come to this market as an expatriate, unlike in the Gulf and etc. But I think the opportunities there are some opportunities for Russian executives, mostly in the technology side, right? I mean, especially e-commerce. I mean, I spent significant time in Russia, in Moscow. I see the huge, pace of digitalization. I mean, for example, Turkish payment system has really advanced, compared to Europe and etc. But when I come to Moscow, I mean, the speed of digitalization in banking, in payment systems, e-commerce, and etc. I think these are the areas that that I believe. I mean, Turkish entrepreneurs, because we did a couple of search actually last year. We were looking for the chief technology officer, and we significantly look for Russian executives in Russia. But I mean, there is this opportunity, but the bad thing is, as Oleg mentioned, this country has going through some difficult times in the last couple of years. I think it's going to come to a level, but because of depreciation, because of the high inflation, etc., the salaries, the compensations are actually reduced in real terms, in hard currency. So probably there is a huge difficulty to attract the Russian executives to Turkey today. But again, there is this opportunity for sure. Other than that, I think the market for Russian employees are mostly, I would say, the junior, let's say the mid-level managers, rather than the top ones, except the intercompany exchanges.
Thank you, Orhan. Oleg, what competencies actually helped you when you started to do business in a Turkish company, and especially when you first started to do your international work remotely and then moved to Istanbul?
Yes, so basically I have experience in different cultures, so that's why basically resilience is kind of a part of my DNA. But yes, I definitely this helped a lot. And also willingness to change, basically adaptability, because here, I mean, especially being here, and this is a big advice. So because I see a lot of now, as Orhan said that, and you said that, and also Sergey confirmed that in his question, that a lot of managers are now moving around and from Russia into Russia, etc. And I see sometimes that somebody wants to establish like a Чистые пруды or Hamovniki in Kadıköy or somewhere. It will not happen like that. So the service level, the environment, the people are absolutely different. Even though you see some brands, you see some similar pubs, etc. So adaptability and basically trying to understand the rules and how these things are working here. And this comes also with a great need to develop the empathy, because yes, you are struggling, but the people also struggling from different things. So when you understand that, it's really kind of help you to build trust, because this trust is built not only between the businesses or the businessmen, but also between the people. And I absolutely now feel that yes, having the right person or right friend for particular things, which will so it's like a networking in its best sense, when you develop the relationships not because you give this and you give that, but just for the future. And you'll never know You'll never know. And this my example. So this is shows this. You'll never know how it will come. So that the confirmation I gave to Rule more than 10 years ago in the office of legal firm while we were doing the merger resulted in this beautiful webinar stream with Oksana, Ross Expert, and Orhan. I mean, like, you never know how it will connect it in the future. I mean, these dots will be connected. So, but you need to trust the process. So if you are a good person, if you have a good will, it will result for the best. That's for sure.
Oksana, I have like a 30-second question because we discussed earlier today, Russians are more direct and we are more cotton sugar kind of messaging. And I totally agree with Oleg. I mean, being open-minded and constructive works. But my question is very simple. I mean, do you enjoy working, having an experience? How is the experience in Turkey so
far? Absolutely. And my family enjoys. That's also very important thing, because when you're alone, it's much easier. But when your family is enjoying also, it brings you like 100% satisfaction.
Okay, good.
That helps a lot, of course. That helps a lot. So we have two more questions coming from our audience, and we have 6 minutes to answer them. One question, I think, Tuğrul, you will be the best person to answer. What kinds of opportunities Turkey provides for the startups?
You know, it is growing very fast, actually, in Turkey last 5-10 years. And especially corporate companies are investing on the new startups because instead of investing huge money internally or in the company, they are starting to work with the new startups. Especially fintechs are very popular. Financial technologies, mobility companies, very popular. Service companies, and longevity is becoming more popular. You know, I know a lot of Russian entrepreneur founders are also working in Turkey. Even I think even they have like collective houses, places. I mean, coming together and working with Turkish startups together. I know one of them, like agriculture, Turkish startup and Russian startups join their power, and they are creating one company together. 25, 26 years old young generations. Technology. I mean. Russians are good, very good for the technological issues, and a lot of young generations also coming for Turkey, working for startups today. I think it's easier find a job in the startup ecosystem more than corporate life in Turkey now, because you can work with 3-4 different startups at the same time, even for abroad. That's why I think it's very attractive for the young generation come and work in the Turkish startup ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. And are there any kind of special taxation regimes for the startups? So it's
no, not at all. No, you can just come and open your company with some hundreds, thousands of dollars, and you can just start up your business. You can start to invoice.
Good.
Except I think there are some universities that encourage you, like a tax-free kind of things, right? Like Istanbul Technical University, Midas Technical University. If it is real technology, there are some incubators in the big universities.
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask. Where is the Silicon Valley of?
I wouldn't. We don't have that, but a couple of big universities. One is the Middle East Technical University in Ankara. They have a huge technology incubator ecosystem, and in this part of, in Istanbul, I would say the Istanbul Technical University, as well as the Boğaziçi, have the biggest, the technology incubators. And there are also, on top of what Tuğrul says, there are a number of Turkish businessmen who are dedicated only to work with the small startups in incubators. They are really investing, in this kind of companies.
Oksana, not only companies, all the professionals, CEOs, general managers, directors are also investing personally. As Orhan said, almost every university has an incubation center and welcoming for Russians too, because they are looking for the smart technologies mostly. It's easy to accept. I mean, it's easy to apply and accept by the universities, incubation centers.
Great to hear that. And our last question is with the twist. Tugrül, you mentioned that your welcome and tourney of Russia was Novosibirsk, Khabarovsk, and Vladivostok. Did you have a chance to notice not only the horrible weather conditions, but are there any differences between doing business in Khabarovsk and Vladivostok and Novosibirsk?
Yeah, I think, I was saying always, Russia is, every region has kind of different culture, different country. Ufa was totally different story. Kazan was different. Rostov, I was feeling that I'm moving country by country. And I remember Far East also totally different culture and habits. I remember very well, actually, especially in the Far East. The Vladivostok, I remember with the sea, the weather, the beach, the seafood, the people. I have, 99% of good memories everywhere.
Absolutely correct, right?
Yeah.
I think that's perfect end for our today's conversation. Time has passed so fast, and I'm really grateful to Tugrül, Oleg, Orhan, to all of you. So hope we'll have a chance to meet soon, either Moscow or Istanbul or Izmir or St. Petersburg, maybe even Vladivostok.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I think.
Thank you, Oksana, having us. Thank you very much. It was very nice to see again some Russian friends. Even I see 2-3 Russian friends from the 2005. Very, very nice to see you all. Thank you very much. Thank you. Orhan.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a great evening, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.